What do you do when the person you trusted most shatters your world, not with a single blow, but with 1,000 quiet cuts? I used to think love was a fortress, unyielding and eternal. But after the miscarriage, after the betrayal, I learned it could be a house of cards, collapsing under the weight of a single word, convenient. My name is Elise, and this is the story of how I rebuilt myself from the ashes of a life I thought I knew. The hospital room was cold, sterile, the kind of place where hope goes to fade. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, my hands resting on a belly that no longer carried life. The miscarriage had come like a thief, stealing the future I'd dreamed of, a child with my eyes and David's smile. David, my husband of 7 years, sat beside me, his hand limp in mine. He said the right things, whispered promises of, "We'll try again," but his eyes were distant, already drifting somewhere I couldn't follow. I thought it was grief. I was wrong. Weeks passed, and our home became a museum of silence. I'd wander the nursery we'd painted soft yellow, touching the crib we'd assembled together, each creak of the wood a reminder of what we've lost. David threw himself into work, staying late at the office, coming home with the faint scent of whiskey and excuses. I tried to reach him, to share the ache that lived in my bones, but he'd brush me off with a tired smile. "We'll get through this, Elise," he'd say, but his words felt like placeholders, empty and rehearsed. One night, I found the truth. I wasn't snooping, not really. His phone buzzed on the counter, and the name, Clara, flashed across the screen. "A colleague," he'd said. "Just a friend." But the message was a blade, "Miss you tonight. When can we meet again?" My heart pounded as I scrolled, each word carving deeper. Late-night texts, stolen moments, promises of a life without me. And then, the one that broke me, "Elise is convenient, Clara. She's my safety net, but you're my spark." Convenient. The word echoed, sharp and cruel. I'd given him everything, me love, my dreams, my future, and I was convenient. I sat there in the dark, the phone trembling in my hands, and something inside me shifted. Not broke, but hardened. I wasn't going to be his safety net anymore. The next morning, I played the part of the dutiful wife. I made coffee, smiled as he kissed my forehead, and said nothing about Clara. But inside, a plan was forming. I wasn't going to scream or cry or beg. I was going to give David what he wanted, an exit, but on my terms. I started small. I contacted a lawyer, a woman named Rachel who'd been recommended by a friend. Rachel was sharp, her eyes kind but unyielding, like she'd seen every shade of betrayal and come out stronger. "You deserve more than this, Elise," she said, her voice steady as we mapped out the divorce. I didn't want his money or his pity. I wanted freedom, and I wanted him to feel the weight of what he'd done. But then came the twist I hadn't expected. While sorting through old photos for the lawyer proof of our shared life, I found a letter tucked inside a book David had given me on our first anniversary. It was from his mother, Margaret, who'd passed away years ago. Her handwriting was shaky, but her words were fierce. "Elise, you're the daughter I always wanted. If David ever forgets what he has, remind him. And if he doesn't listen, walk away with your head high." I sat on the floor, tears streaming down my face, clutching the letter like a lifeline. Margaret had seen me, truly seen me, in a way David never had. Her words lit a fire in me, a reminder that I wasn't just a wife or a mother who never was. I was Elise, and I was enough. The plan grew bolder. I started reclaiming pieces of myself I'd let slip away. I enrolled in an art class, something I'd loved before marriage but abandoned to fit into David's world. I painted again, bold strokes of color that felt like defiance. I reconnected with old friends, their laughter a balm to the loneliness. And I began to notice the world again, the way the light filtered through the trees, the smell of rain on pavement. I was waking up. David didn't notice the change at first. He was too busy with Clara, too caught up in his double life. But I was meticulous. I gathered evidence, screenshots, receipts, even a voice recording of him laughing with her on the phone, calling me convenient again. I didn't confront him. I waited. The night of our 7th anniversary, I gave him the ultimate exit. We sat at our dining table, the same one where we'd planned our future. I'd cooked his favorite meal, poured his favorite wine. He looked at me with that same tired smile, oblivious to the storm coming. "You're amazing, Elise," he said, and I almost laughed at the irony. "David," I said, my voice calm but steady, "I know about Clara." His face froze, the smile slipping like a mask. Before he could speak, I slid a folder across the table, divorce papers, neatly prepared by Rachel, alongside printed screenshots of his texts. "You called me convenient," I said, my eyes locked on his. "So I'm giving you what you want. A life without me." He stammered, tried to explain, but I didn't need his words. I stood, my chair scraping against the floor, and handed him Margaret's letter. "Your mother saw me better than you ever did," I said. "She told me to walk away with my head high. And that's what I'm doing." He didn't follow me as I left the house. I drove to a small apartment I'd rented in secret, a place that was mine alone. The walls were bare, the furniture sparse, but it felt like home in a way our house never had. I slept that night with a peace I hadn't known in years. The divorce was finalized quickly. David didn't fight it, maybe out of guilt, maybe because Clara was waiting. I didn't care. I sold the house, split the assets, and moved forward. But the real victory wasn't in the settlement or the signatures. It was in the woman I became. Months later, I stood in a gallery, my paintings on display. Friends and strangers mingled, their voices warm with admiration. I'd poured my pain and my strength into every canvas, each one a testament to survival. A woman approached me, her eyes bright with curiosity. "Your work is so powerful," she said. "What's your story?" I smiled, thinking of the miscarriage, the betrayal, the word convenient. I thought of Margaret's letter, of Rachel's strength, of the colors I'd rediscovered. "It's a long one," I said, "but it's about finding yourself when everything else falls apart." That night, I walked home under the stars, my heart full. I wasn't just Elise, the wife who'd been betrayed. I was Elise, the artist, the survivor, the woman who'd given herself the ultimate exit, a life rebuilt on her own terms. And as I looked up at the sky, I knew Margaret was watching, smiling, her words echoing in my heart, "Walk away with your head high." I had, and I would never look back.